From when Tech's CEO told the sharks they were out, to the time Richard Branson and Mark Cuban got into a water fight, here are some of the biggest arguments on Shark Tank. Things tend to get heated inside the tank, which makes sense if you think about it. You're pitching an idea worth hundreds and thousands, if not millions of dollars, to an entire panel of millionaire investors, hoping they see potential in either you or what you're selling. The excitement goes up a notch because the sharks have to compete with each other too. Where there's money involved, and loads of it, you know things can get competitive. Every episode has its heated moments, but some of those live rent-free in our minds. You're probably thinking of a few right now too, aren't you? Bet the one everyone has on their minds right now is the one where Scott Jordan told the sharks they were worthless. Technology might have helped solve several problems, but it created a problem we didn't even know we had. And that's how to carry all your gadgets with you everywhere you go. Okay, let's be fair. It's not a problem everyone has, nor is it something that keeps us up at night. Still, better to have a tech vest and not need it than to need it and not have it, right? That was the gist of Scott's pitch when he went in asking for a $500,000 investment from the sharks in return for 15% of his company. Tech quite literally stands for technology-enabled clothing, and, according to Scott, it'd be the next big thing in retail since Velcro. You have to hand it to the guy. He came with all the right stuff. He was wearing his design, showcasing all the features, and selling it to the sharks as something they needed to have. Unfortunately, they didn't bite. Well, they did bite and hurt Scott's feelings at least. Kevin O'Leary and Robert Herjavec put in their offer, but Scott claimed they were lowballing him. Things took an unexpected turn, and Scott probably thought the sharks were attacking him when all they were doing was asking some tough questions he didn't have the answer to. So, what did Scott do? He pointed at both potential investors and people willing to pay him good money, by the way, and said, "You're out," before declaring he could do it all by himself. Here's an interesting fact for you. Mark Cuban was so appalled by Scott's attitude that he announced he'd be working on a knockoff product called iGear. Speaking of the man worth $6.2 billion, Chris Sacca said he had no idea how a dumb guy like him could make so much money. As the proprietor of Lowercase Capital, Chris has a lot of money. Just not as much as Mark Cuban though, a fact that keeps him up at night, because he brought it up in a fight with the owner of the Dallas Mavericks over an early education plan. Wait, what? Okay, so Chris was one of the panelists on Shark Tank, and things got heated between him and Mark when they both wanted a piece of Brightwheel. Things got heated when the owner of the software, Dave, suggested that the sharks go in together on a deal. Chris offended Mark by suggesting that there was nothing he had to offer as an investor. That was enough to start what Damon John called a shark fight. Mark countered by saying that Chris's expertise started and ended in Silicon Valley. For real-world applications of Brightwheel, Dave would have better luck partnering up with him. But here's the thing, even though Mark looked like he'd pounce at Chris any second, he ended up agreeing with Dave that Chris was a key player in the domain Brightwheel wanted to enter. Honestly, the whole thing started because Dave wanted more sharks on board. Well, he got it. Chris and Mark put their differences aside and went in on the deal together. Brightwheel's still doing great, by the way, and the company even managed to secure a deal from Mark Zuckerberg too. Dave made his company a success because he did his homework going into Shark Tank. He knew what the sharks had to offer his business, but Jared Ward wanted them to make their case for Myostorm. Two Olympians and an engineer decided to band together and solve one of the sports industry's most pressing concerns: sore muscles. It wasn't just marketed at athletes either. Myostorm promised to help every single person out there who'd wake up with a kink in their neck. The company pitched their patented design, the Meteor, which they hoped would replace traditional rollers one day. Things went off to a great start. Their pitch was great, the sharks loved the design, and everything was going swell. They even managed to bag 3 investment deals. So when did things go haywire? Mark loved and believed in the product so much that he was willing to get greedy for the Meteor. He said he'd give them what they were asking for, but if they looked at any other investor, he was out. Yeah, Mark was out pretty soon. Things were getting heated enough already, and Jared didn't ease the tension when he asked the sharks to pitch themselves to Myostorm too.
Mark, we love the offer. We will like to hear Kevin's offer, but
Yes, I'm out.
The sharks tensed up, and they looked annoyed, especially Mark. Still, they loved the product too much to walk away from it, and in the end, Mystorm went with the unlikely candidate, Lori. Kevin was sour about not bagging a deal, but he wasn't nearly as angry at Myostorm as he was at Pavlok. If there's one thing Mr. Wonderful doesn't appreciate, it's people who come into the pitch just to lie through their teeth. Now, some people lie about their patents, sales, and legal stuff, but Manish Sethi lied about something that pushed Kevin over the edge. The man behind Pavlok, an energy bracelet, claimed that he didn't care about money. Mind you, this was while Kevin was making him the best offer he could ever get. It turns out Manish was lying because the truth soon came out that he just didn't like Kevin. That's right. This guy told Mr. Wonderful to his face that he just couldn't work with him. Kevin was too stunned to speak for a second, but then went off the rails, yelling and screaming at Manish, calling him just about every name in the book, and demanding that he walk out of the tank and never come back. Kevin then tried to justify his outburst by claiming that Manish was never looking for an investment. He just wanted his 15 minutes, and Kevin gave him exactly that. Sometimes things get so heated in the tank that the Sharks have to take a lap. They did just that after an explosive fight over Scully. Christopher Gray came in with a great idea.
Hi Sharks, my name is Christopher Gray. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and my company is Scully.
And the Sharks loved him for it. Gray knew just how hard it was to make it through college without a scholarship, and he wanted to find a way to help students find the right one for them. Hence, Scully, an app that finds you the best scholarship there, is based on your credentials. His pitch wasn't flashy, and Chris got straight to the point. Yet it worked, and the guy had offers left and right. The problem with so many offers, though, is that it can get a little overwhelming for everyone. Lori wanted in right away, and so did Damon. Maybe even a little too aggressively, actually. She started antagonizing the other Sharks for even wanting to know more about the app. They wouldn't let the other three finish their questioning, and Chris was almost cornered into taking their deal. Something that Robert, Mark, and Kevin thought was unfair, not just to them and Chris, but to the entire premise of Shark Tank. They got so offended that the three of them stormed off set. And finally, I saved the best for last. Let's talk about when Mark and Richard Branson got into a water fight. Guest panelist and Virgin CEO, Sir Richard Branson, got into a heated argument with Mark, ironically, over an application that's supposed to calm people down. The Simple Habit pitch was a disaster from start to finish, not so much because of the pitch itself, but because Mark was convinced Yoonha Kim was a gold digger. He claimed that she already had the money for her app, but was using Shark Tank for clout, and intended to ditch any investor who agreed to take her on. Some people thought Mark was right on the money, and others, like Branson, thought he'd gone too far. Just to clarify, everyone agreed with what Mark had to say. They just didn't like how he said it. Branson seemed like he wanted Mark to stop antagonizing the young CEO, and the best way to do it, according to him, was to throw water on his co-shark. Explaining the whole incident later on, Branson claimed that he meant to do it playfully. Mark, though, was incredibly offended and returned the favor. It looked like the two would throw hands any second, and well, not for nothing, Simple Habit did get the clout it was allegedly chasing. Branson then explained that he and Mark had buried the hatchet backstage and that everything was good between them. With all these fights, though, do you think the Sharks might bite each other one day? From a water fight between Richard Branson and Mark Cuban to a tech CEO's bold, "I'm out," these Shark Tank moments brought the heat.